Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you should not do on Instagram. And I have done one of these videos before, a mistakes video for Instagram, but I do want to elaborate on this today and really for 2022 and based on really my experience over the last 10 years or longer of posting on Instagram for my business. I really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of what you should not do and really how you should be approaching Instagram as a business owner or as a creative business in 2022. So this is also coming from a viewpoint of someone who is new to using Instagram or who is starting a new account especially. I do feel like there's some unspoken rules that really should be adhered to, and we're going to go through a few of them today. I'm not going to focus too much on points like don't take bad photos or don't use too many hashtags, because I kind of feel like although in certain situations that can be true and that can be something that you really do have to look out for, I think to an extent taking bad photos is so vague, and using too many hashtags at a point where you're trying to build your brand or you're trying to build an audience, I kind of feel like isn't necessarily always true. It can look a little bit spammy, but I feel like if you kind of put them down the bottom, they're not too much of an issue. I think as you grow, it's definitely something that you do use less and less of, and sometimes it can affect the algorithm, I believe. But honestly, I'm not going to focus on those kinds of points today. I'm going to focus on really what I've experienced in my years of being on Instagram as a creative business and really talk about what I think you shouldn't do as a creative freelancer on there. So my first big don't is to not follow and unfollow. I mean, this is really something that shouldn't have to be said in 2022, because is there anyone out there that still does this? But at the same time, I feel like it does need to be mentioned, because I know for a fact there are people out there that still do this, and it is horrible for the Instagram algorithm, for your exposure, for your reputation. It's just annoying to see on Instagram for a lot of people, and it's something that truly does not work in 2022. So if you are doing that at the moment, don't do it, because for many different reasons that I've just said, it's really going to affect your presence on Instagram. The second point I'm going to mention here is to not beg for follows and likes. And this is something that I feel like has been true for the longest time, for as long as Instagram or social media has been around. I don't ever believe that it's something that you should do. And it doesn't matter whether you've got 0 followers or 100 followers or however many you have, and you're really desperate to try and get more of an audience, don't do this, because it really does come across as like this desperate thing. Once again, it really does affect your reputation on Instagram for people that might have been interested in following you. I mean, have you ever come across someone who has been like begging you to follow them, and even if you thought that maybe they had great work, it kind of just like cheapens their work a little bit in a sense. Like it kind of makes you not want to follow them because they're begging you to follow them. It's really not something that I have ever done with my own work, and I feel like it's worked out completely fine for me. I have never ever begged for a follow or a like. I mean, obviously at the end of my YouTube videos, I'll quite often say like this channel or subscribe or whatever if you haven't already. But in terms of begging and actually commenting on people's statuses or commenting on people's photos or anything on Instagram, I have never done it, and it has worked out completely fine for me. And I know plenty of other people that have not done it either, and it works. My third tip in terms of a don't is to don't post too much or too little. And it's really hard to sometimes find this balance between the two, but I do find that if you're posting too much, it's way too much for the Instagram algorithm, and if you're posting way too little, it's not enough. If you're posting only once a week or once every 2 weeks, it's really not building enough traction on Instagram to really help that algorithm showing your images, showing your content to other people. And same thing if it is too much, it's just being flooded on there, and it's really not giving enough time to build up any kind of presence, in a sense that people will not get sick of seeing your content as well. So if you do have any followers at the moment, they're going to continuously be seeing all of this stuff that you're posting, and it can be a little bit much. So it's really good to find that medium of where you're sort of fitting in the middle and really making sure that you're not posting too much or too little for the algorithm. Another don't that I'm going to mention is ignoring how your feed looks overall on Instagram. Now, I think as a creative and as a photographer in particular, it annoys me that we have to kind of look at this, and it's a kind of a sore point for a lot of people when it comes to having an Instagram theme necessarily. And I'm actually going to to do another video where I talk about this and whether you should have one, but it is important and it's hard to deny that it is actually important. So no matter what we sort of think or our opinions on this, as you're looking at your Instagram feed overall, there has to be something, some element of cohesion between everything, whether it's the same captured content or whether it's maybe toning or whether there's something at the end of the day that ties your content together. There really has to be a common thread. If it's all just kind of like all over the place and people have no idea by looking at your feed what you do, it can be a little bit messy and it can kind of turn people off wanting to follow you or really kind of being to your detriment in terms of trying to build an audience. So it is one thing that I would say, definitely consider your whole Instagram as a whole and try not to forget about that. My fifth don't is not replying to comments or not engaging with your followers. And this is such a bad thing for the Instagram algorithm as well, because you're really not creating that engagement on your posts. I try and reply to most comments that I get on my Instagrams. I feel like it's a really great way to build relationships with your followers, but also to create that engagement that Instagram loves. Instagram can see that you're being active, the algorithm can see that you're being active, and it's hopefully going to really recommend your stuff more. It's really going to get your stuff out there a lot more. So definitely make sure that you are engaging with your followers and you are replying to comments. My next don't is to not ignore the bio section of Instagram. This is actually a really important part of building your brand, building your business on Instagram, is to make sure that you've got that section filled in correctly. And this includes having proper search terms that you want to have in there that relate to your business, really telling people what you do in very, very few words, because you only do have a very small amount of space to put in about yourself and about your business, and making sure that you have either a link tree or a link to your website linked there. Please don't leave this section blank, because this is really going to be your way to get people off of Instagram and to really get them exploring other areas of your work online and your business. So make sure that you are doing this and make sure that you are not forgetting about the Instagram bio section. I'm just inserting what I've currently got on my Instagram and how I've liked to set it out. I feel that it's also a very good search friendly bio as well. So make sure that you fill it all in and ensure that you don't forget about it. The next point is to not ignore other posting formats on Instagram. Now, I know that it can be frustrating when Instagram comes out with new types of posts all the time, like for example, stories, and then you've got Reels and Instagram TV and all the rest of it. But it's really important to not ignore that side of things, because as they add these kinds of things to Instagram, then it's really going to be incorporated into the algorithm once again. So if you're kind of posting a little bit across all of those platforms, you're really maximizing how you can get an audience on Instagram and making sure that the algorithm is taking notice of your work. If you're only just posting these days, it is very difficult to build that audience without kind of reels and using stories to your advantage as well. As much as we would all like to, I mean, myself being a photographer, I don't really want to have to create video content every day, and I don't. But I think it's important to make sure that you are kind of spreading yourself across a couple of the different posting formats to make sure you are maximizing how you can build an audience on Instagram. The next big no-no is to please don't use people's content and repost their content without their permission first. Now, this is something I've seen happen a lot where new brands or upcoming freelancers or whoever it may be use other people's photography or images or work or graphic design elements to help propel their own business and to promote their own business without their permission, without credit, without anything. And it's actually something that's becoming a really big problem on Instagram, is that people and creatives are not getting permission asked for their work to be used first, and therefore it's creating this kind of like free promo material that people are just going around and using on Instagram. And this is something I'd highly recommend against, because quite often you will either get contacted by the photographer of the work that you're using or the artist or whoever it may be, and they're gonna probably tell you to take it down. And it's not a very good look for your reputation. It's not a great look for your brand. And obviously it's kind of rude to just steal people's stuff and not give any credit or not ask them permission first. So make sure that you do that. The next point I'm going to make is ignoring hashtags. Now, this is really common. I don't know why, but I think it's a really common thing amongst a lot of beginners on Instagram or people that are creating a new account, and I would never ever ignore hashtags. It is part of the way that your content actually gets found as well, and you always have to take that into account when you are posting. Make sure that you are filling in your captions and you are putting hashtags in there. Like I said, you don't have to put a million different hashtags in there, and a lot of people do recommend against doing this, but just put some in. Make sure that you're putting at least up to say 15 in at least, and that's going to help hopefully get your content found. And my last point today is poor image quality being a big factor with a lot of people posting on Instagram, and this is a big don't, because I guess to an extent these days you can't really afford to have poor quality content like on your Instagram feeds or on your social media. As soon as it does look low quality, people are going to kind of click away. They don't really want to hang around for that stuff anymore. And it's like 2022. It's fairly simple to get high quality content onto your social media platforms. So just make sure that your sizing and everything is correct for Instagram. Make sure that you're not posting a really low resolution image there, and you'll be absolutely fine in that respect. But it's definitely something that I recommend that you take into consideration too. Okay guys, well I hope you really enjoyed this video on 10 things to not do on Instagram. I hope that these tips have helped you, and please let me know what you think in the comment section below, if there's any tips that you have for anything not to do on Instagram. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure that you do subscribe, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you've got any questions or any requests for any future videos, please let me know down in the comment section below. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!